Dazzler was first created as part of the partnership between Casablanca Records and Marvel. She was one of the last in the dying disco era. Casablanca soon faded, leaving Dazzler with Marvel. Then Marvel decided to continue her story in the comics. She is one of those characters who is heavily underrated and does not have the same recognition as the other A-lister superheroes. In addition to her powers and personality, she has been a central figure in a number of important storylines and events in the Marvel Comics universe. Dazzler was a key player in the Mutant Massacre storyline, and she's seen working with other heroes and teams to defend the world from various threats, including villains such as the Hellfire Club and the Brotherhood of Mutants. So in today's episode, we'll be exploring every detail about this character and why she is set to be the next big deal in Marvel. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks, and let's begin. Exploring the backstory and origins of Dazzler. Dazzler is a mutant with the ability to convert sound into light and energy beams. She uses it to fight crime and defend her fellow mutants. The character was created by scriptwriter Tom DeFalco and artist John Romita Jr. and first appeared in X-Men 130 in February 1980. Dazzler has been a member of various mutant teams, including the X-Men and the X-Factor. So, who was she before she became the Dazzler that we know of? Alison Blair was the daughter of Catherine Blair, who was known as a free-spirited entertainer. On the other hand, her father, Carter Blair, was pretty uptight and was a judge by profession. Alison was raised only by her father, as Catherine left the marriage and family when she was a little girl. Carter was devastated, but he knew that Alison would be more if she got to know about it. So he decided to keep her mother's departure a secret forever. Alison soon grew up and had the ambition to become a singer and pursue it as a profession. Her choice, however, was freeing compared to other career choices, and Carter was afraid that she might turn out to be like her mother. Naturally, he opposed the idea of her being a singer. Carter wanted something for her which would be similar to going to law school, so eventually Alison turned out to be a law school student and a singer as well. Bella Blair, who was the grandmother of Alison, always supported her for her talent and encouraged her to pursue her dreams. Alison explored her abilities while performing at a dance show at her high school. However, she was afraid to confront her mutation and abilities. She started exploring her mutation powers only when she finished high school and was all set to step into college. Even during all of this, she never stopped pursuing her passion for music and her singing career. She upgraded her performance by adding certain fun elements. She put on makeup and roller skates and created a suit with mirrored fits. And yes, she had a stage name too, Dazzler. At her graduation ceremony, she finally gathered the courage to tell her father that she no longer wished to continue with law school. Dazzler was determined to follow her passion with or without her father's financial support. Using her mutant powers, she was able to achieve many gigs around famous clubs and discos in New York. She used the sound of her music and converted it to the eye-catching, dazzling color display. She kept her abilities hidden and labeled her powers as her technological secret. Though this little lie was enough to fool the club managers and other people around at the time, it certainly didn't fool Professor Charles Xavier, the founder and leader of the X-Men, and the White Queen, Emma Frost. Beating the Enchantress brought her into the limelight. We all know the passion Dazzler has for music and singing. She's chosen over Enchantress in an audition for some local talent agency. Enchantress used her magic to enhance her music, but Dazzler was still chosen over her. This obviously made the goddess furious, and she attacked Dazzler in front of other heroes. However, Dazzler required no help from anyone and ended up beating her all by herself. Thus began the journey to this roller skating superhero. Alison's journey was rough. Well, to begin with, the Hellfire Club and X-Men both knew that she was a mutant and both wanted to have her as part of the team. She was also approached and attacked by the villains, and she could only escape with the help of the X-Men. Dazzler was forced into combat against the Hulk. Her presence was acknowledged by Project Pegasus, a secret government firm, after she defeated the Hulk. Project Pegasus wanted to research on her abilities, and the scientists ran several extreme tests. Soon enough, they concluded that her ability to transduce sound into light was unlimited. Meanwhile, Dazzler was mutually attracted to the head security of the Project Pegasus, Quasar. However, the affair was cut short in no time when one of the fellow test subjects, Claw, tried to flee from the premises. She helped Quasar in the struggle by entirely absorbing the attempted escapee. Then she, too, left the demonic premises. She was soon captured by none other than the devourer of galaxies himself, Galactus. Galactus's ex-herald, Terex, fled and was hiding in the anomaly, so he wanted Dazzler's powers, as he was the only being capable of existing inside a black hole safely. Dazzler was charged with sound by Galactus and went off to find the former herald. She returned to Earth after she succeeded in her mission by fighting Terex ruthlessly and bringing him back to the Devourer for further punishment. If this spikes your interest, we have another interesting tale to tell. Dazzler had also fought the Grappler in Riker's Island prison. If you're not familiar with the Grapplers, know that it was a group led by Auntie Freeze, and it consisted of some really powerful female wrestlers. In Riker's prison, the group consisted of 4 women named Poundcakes, Songbird, Letha, and Titania. Dazzler's mutant powers soon defeated them all with almost no extreme effort. They simply did not believe that Daz could beat Claw, so she just had to show them what she was capable of. On another note, you should know that Dazzler is quite charming, and many men wanted her affection. Archangel was one of her admirers and always preferred her over anyone that he had dated in the past. However, nothing romantic really took place between them, but he did help her reunite with her parents. The two also teamed up to fight one of our favorite villains, Dr. Octopus. Eventually, Dazzler wanted to try her luck in the acting industry and thus traveled to the West Coast. She was introduced to Roman Nekobo, a film producer who became her love interest in no time. Roman succeeded in convincing her to come out to the world about her mutant abilities and the vast amount of powers she possessed. The production for the film wrapped soon after, and it was named Dazzler the Movie, but it did not get released to avoid any potential backlash from mutant-hating audiences and her non-mutant fans. Her acting career didn't really take off, and the best that she could do was excel as a backup singer. She worked the same for Lila Cheney, Cats Laughing, and Rockstar. The fame from those works did not really go up too high, as the attention drove towards Beyonder's destruction on Earth. Dazzler, along with other heroes, was too busy in the battle. He was smitten by her beauty and powers and announced her as the most magnificent beauty he could ever lay his eyes on. His attempts to win her turned out useless, and the Inhumans safely returned her to Earth. Quite the charmer, isn't she? When the X-Men came to her rescue, Dazzler got tangled in the superhero life and action and was being chased by Malice, the Marauder. She turned to the X-Men for help, and they obviously gave her a helping hand. X-Men defeated Malice and Dazzler almost joined the team, but at the very last moment she backed out, as it meant working alongside her arch-nemesis Rogue, who had also been a member of the Brotherhood in the past. The X-Men soon engaged in a conflict against the adversary and headed to Australia. The X-Men died trying to defeat the adversary. Roma, the daughter of Marilyn, reconstructed and rescued the team. Dazzler, on the other hand, was romantically influenced by her teammate, Longshot. Meanwhile, she also made drastic improvements in her training and skills as she continued to work alongside the mutant team. Dazzler defeated Master Mold and Reavers and then got to know about her future, as per the decision she had made throughout her life. Siege Perilous, a magic gem, exposed her future, which also indicated her possible life as a bag lady. This obviously hindered her life outcomes. She suffered amnesia and ended up on a Malibu beach in California. A former band teammate named Strong Guy found her at the Brace and convinced her to rejoin the band. But even after watching her public movie debut, she did not gain her memory back. Some of her other notable comic book story arcs. Lovers reunite. Dazzler soon joined the Excalibur and decided to boost her singing career by re-entering the industry. The character had been in multiple fights, which resulted in her being killed several times, but she recovered each time. The first was a time when she was killed by the wicked Jean Grey, but surprisingly she woke up again in the hospital just fine. The next incident occurred when she engaged in a fight with Black Tom. She was attacked by one of the henchmen of Black Tom, but she was able to shrug it off as if nothing ever happened. However, no explanation was there for this surprising or shocking reappearance. During her time with the new Excalibur, she found herself in a love triangle with Juggernaut and Nocturne. Juggernaut's approach was soon rejected by Daz, and this resulted in him going back to his villainous phase. The squad soon joined forces with the Exiles, and Dazzler's long-lost love, Longshot, returned. However, Longshot had no memory of Dazzler, as he was suffering from amnesia. The good news was that he eventually recovered his memories and feelings, and they left the team to pick up once again from where they left off from their relationship. Longshot had joined the X Factor in Detroit, and Dazzler decided to rejoin X-Men on Utopia. Dilemma of XMen. Dazzler had to balance between her superhero chores and her singing career, and the latter would also get affected. As a matter of fact, she had to press pause on most of it because her shows got cancelled. In the meantime, she was also broke. She had very little money, and with the last bit of it, she decided to fly off to San Francisco. On the plane, she came across a man who had taken the flight attendant hostage. Once again, she was bound by her superhero ethics. She tricked the man into singing with her while she was causing a distraction. She then performed a light show that was so intense that the man fell unconscious. A passenger who owned a nightclub approached her and offered her a job of singing there once a week for a month. Naturally, she decided to accept his offer in her time of need and therefore reside in Utopia. While she was getting her career sorted, some X-Men even attended some of her performances. A tragic event soon occurred when Pixie was brutally assaulted by Hellfire Cult as she was leaving one of her Dazzler's performances. Beast accompanied her to the hospital while Pixie's life was hanging in the balance. Dazzler visited her while she had little lights dazzling around her. She invited Pixie to join her in future performances as she had winged mutant powers. However, she declined the offer as she did not want to be identified as just an X-Man. Having felt the same way before, Dazzler understood and validated her feelings. Later on, Dazzler's popularity was at its peak, and Pixie eventually joined her in many performances. Effects of the Black Queen. While Dazzler was still residing on Utopia, she came across Mortis, one of the top generals of the Black Queen, but most importantly, her half-sister. Dazzler was in a battle against Selene's army, and it did not take her long to understand that Mortis was being manipulated by the Black Queen. She mixed her skills with her mutant abilities that already existed in her inferiority complex. No matter how much Dazzler tried to stop her sister from fighting, Mortis was furious with her attacks. Dazzler soon defeated Selene, and Brown was teleported to somewhere unknown alongside Blink. For those of you who are not aware, Mortis, her alternate identity, is known as Lois Brown. Lois connected with Dazzler and scheduled several meetings for the sisters to discuss upon. Obviously, Mortis managed to miss them all, apart from one, and all the chaos that occurred in this one meeting where Dazzler ended up getting drugged. She woke up in the murder world where she found out that Mortis had made a deal with Arcade in exchange for Dazzler's life. She wanted to use the maniacal machinations ability that Arcade possessed to put an end to Dazzler's life. However, the roller-skating superhero defeated every artificially synthesized version of her arch enemies. The victory, unfortunately, was only for a few moments before Claw reappeared. Claw declared that he had heard Lois's utter hateful cries, expressing her loathe for Dazzler, and Claw wanted to help her take down Dazzler, who had killed him a couple of years ago. Claw even learned to resist Dazzler's powers, making him immune to many of her abilities. In the battle between the two, Claw ultimately fled from the combat field. Mortis was finally defeated by her half-sister and brought to Utopia, where Dazzler convinced her to get treated. Selene had caused quite a bit of damage which affected her mind and personality. The powerful duo. Dazzler was soon sent to retrieve Dracula's corpse, and the island that she was sent to was filled with vampires. Her UV powers turned out to be non-effective, as the vampires were mostly invulnerable to it. They were fully equipped with a light-bending mechanism. Dazzler's life was at risk, but Northstar was able to help her at the right time. Not once, but twice. As the vampires attacked one more time, Northstar removed the equipment, and Dazzler managed to defeat a lot of vampires in one single attack. Her search for vampires went on, but she didn't really get her hands on anything until this one night. She went to investigate some vampire killings near a disco when she came across a man invading her personal space. Dazzler tried to get rid of his company, but the man was one clingy fella. Despite Dazzler's several warnings, the man did not go away. So Allison ended up screaming at him. When she did, a vampire attacked the man, but before she could capture him, he fled. This resulted in a bike chase to the vamp's secret hideout, but soon enough she was exposed to the fact that these vampires did not really feed on human blood and were only trying to help Allison get rid of the clingy man. This incident was an eye-opener for Dazzler as she learned to soften her way of handling the vampires. Dazzler's singing career in Utopia really flourished, while some other island residents such as Necra Sinclair and Frenzy transformed themselves to fit in the villainous roles. They committed several crimes and even planned on burning down a museum in San Francisco. This could put many civilians' lives in danger. Northstar helped Dazzler once again to stop the menace. Though Frenzy could easily defeat Dazzler in battle, she could not handle the power blast of energy generated by our musical superhero. Both Dazzler and Northstar gained immense popularity after these events, where the duo completely rocked the hell out of the villains.
I'm blind!
Are you alright?
Dazzler had a memorable appearance in X-Men, the animated series. Dazzler made several memorable appearances in X-Men, the animated series. One of her most notable appearances was in the Mojo Vision episode, which showcased her musical abilities and powers, along with her determination. She also made her appearance in Dark Phoenix Saga, Dazzled, where she played the key role. So let's explore some of her iconic appearances, starting with Mojo Vision. Mojo Vision is a classic episode of X-Men, the animated series, that is remembered by fans for its action-packed storyline, memorable character moments, and most importantly, for Dazzler's first appearance. The episode featured the X-Men traveling to another dimension to rescue the singing-obsessed superhero, Dazzler, who had been kidnapped by the wicked Mojo. He was a powerful and twisted ruler from another dimension and looked pretty gross, to be completely honest. He wanted to use Dazzler's musical abilities and powers for his own entertainment purposes, so he forced Dazzler to perform in his dangerous television shows. He also captured the X-Men to bring more excitement to his show, as the ratings had been quite low. The show was vastly broadcasted for the viewers' entertainment and could put casting members in serious life-threatening positions. Cyclops and Storm forcibly got put on a show named Miami Mutants, while Beast and Rogue got put in an episode named Rogue Star. On the other hand, I Dream of Jean was a sitcom that featured Wolverine and Jean Grey. All this while Longshot was the main star of these shows, so for obvious reasons, he was not very fond of the X-Men stealing his spotlight. He helped the X-Men by shutting down Mojo's control room systems, and therefore sent every member of the X-Men back to Earth. This episode ended with Professor X and Magneto witnessing Shanna, the She-Devil, being kidnapped by Sauron. Despite their attempt to save her, she was still captured and flown off by Sauron to get her to Mr. Sinister. The Dark Phoenix Saga Part 1, Dazzled. Just as the name already suggests, the Dark Phoenix Saga Part 1, Dazzled, featured some iconic moments involving Dazzler. The episode focused on the X-Men's attempts to stop Jean Grey, who would become the powerful and unstable entity known as the Dark Phoenix, from wreaking havoc on the world. Dazzler was invited to perform at a fundraiser for the X-Men, where she was open to discussing her possibly joining the X-Men team. After the show was over, Cyclops noticed that Dazzler was being tackled by Donald Pierce, who was a member of the Inner Circle Club. It turned out that Pierce was originally a cyborg, and he fled in no time. Meanwhile, Jean Grey was under treatment at Mutant Island, and Professor X and Moira McTaggart were amused by Jean's ability to fly into the sun, whilst the rest of the story continued with Jean's recovery and the menace she created soon after. Dazzler also played a vital role as her fellow X-Men members. Overall, Dazzler's appearance in the X-Men, the animated series, are considered notable by fans of the X-Men. It helped establish her as a popular and important character in the X-Men universe. She had a very brief cameo in the movie Dark Phoenix. The 2019 film X-Men Dark Phoenix focused on the story of Jean Grey, who transformed into the powerful and dangerous Dark Phoenix after being exposed to a mysterious cosmic force. The main character in the film include X-Men, Professor X, Cyclops, Storm, Beast, Nightcrawler, and Mystique, who attempted to save Jean and stop the Dark Phoenix from wreaking havoc on the world. 24 minutes into the movie, one can see a girl singing during a scene in a school involving mutants. Though she was not officially introduced, she was none other than Alison Blair, the singing superhero named Dazzler. The character is played by the actor Halston Stage and is considered to be the character's first cinematic debut. Simon Kinberg, the writer and director, has shined a light on why it was just about time to introduce this character. Being a fan favorite character, Dazzler was also part of the Dark Phoenix Saga comic. So in the film, the Easter egg for her debut was planted very subtly. In the movie, the character made a brief appearance in the scene where Xavier students arranged a part in the forest. This took place right after the X-Men returned from rescuing the astronauts in space, and Dazzler presented a magical performance. She was even seen wearing a white jumpsuit with supersonic abilities which enhanced her performance, making it very visually pleasing. What makes Dazzler a force to be reckoned with? Dazzler holds the ability to manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum, which she can use to produce intense light and laser-like energy beams. She can also use her powers to create sonic blasts and waves of sound, which are often accompanied by bright flashes of light. Dazzler holds a firm and high degree of control over her powers, allowing her to direct her light and energy beams with precision and accuracy. In addition to her primary power, Dazzler has a number of secondary abilities that enhance her combat effectiveness. explosiveness. She has a high level of physical agility and endurance, making her an unstoppable opponent in hand-to-hand combat. Not only this, she holds the ability to create such an intense light that it actually can be seen to cause temporarily blindness. Speaking of light, she is also able to generate strong light beams like a laser, which is so strong that it can cut through anything. Dazzler can also create a light that glows around her body. One's equilibrium and vision can be severely affected when this character decides to generate a chaotic dazzling light effect with sparkling color palettes. No, it does not end here. She's also capable of creating holograms. One of the other notable aspects of Dazzler's powers is her resistance to psychic attacks. By being resistant to psychic attacks, Dazzler is able to protect herself from the mind control and manipulation attempts of her opponents who would otherwise use her powers to gain an advantage in battle. Dazzler can create a light effect as a destructive shield which can vaporize smaller objects. She's also capable of creating a glowy yet hazy effect that can be used during the battle to obscure opponents. What else, you ask? Well, you guys are familiar with the damage ultraviolet rays can cause, so imagine what Dazzler can do with the power to generate omnidirectional waves of UV. With extreme effort and intensity, she can even destroy metal structures that are located extremely high. Dazzler is immune to multiple elements such as her light transducing abilities can have some injurious effects on her body, but she is invulnerable to the effects. This also applies to any loud noise she transduces. Speaking of noises, Dazzler's ears are so highly developed that she can pick sounds that others cannot recognize. Apart from these abilities, Dazzler can fly or levitate in some instances. Another important aspect of Dazzler's powers is her ability to absorb sound vibrations and store them within her body. This allows her to increase her strength and intensity. In some cases, she is even able to heal from injuries by absorbing and converting sound vibrations into energy, although this ability is varied in different depictions of the character. And with that, we come to the very end of this video. Throughout her comic book career, Dazzler has been associated with a number of superhero teams, including the X-Men, the Defenders, and the Extreme X-Men. Not only this, but she's also seen to be working with other heroes, such as the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the Avengers. In many of these team-ups, Dazzler has played a key role in battles against a variety of villains where she uses her powers to support her allies. And if you like this video on how much of a remarkable character Dazzler is, make sure to smash that like button and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, toodaloo.